So, yeah. I just sat here and did the math. I'm trying to supply enough automated wiring for these, which is 56.25 total. And it's totally unreasonable of me to expect to run all three of these at triple clocked. I mean, the numbers are telling me that I would just need so very much copper. And as much as I don't want to, I mean, I should still probably total up how much cable is being used from everything. I mean, plus everything was designed around the computers not using that much cable. And I did go through once and redo all of the copper, because the copper used to be a mess. Because you would go from basically needing like no copper to suddenly needing a ton of copper. And the way that I approached it was just get some amount of machines, or one machine just making a part, just so a part is being made in case I need it. And it was a mess. It was like a complete and total mess. But this is like much closer to being optimized. Oh, I managed to find like a empty spot in the grid. But let me look at the numbers here. So I sat here and did the math before I started up the stream. But no, I mean, that's 37.5 cable makers, 75 wire machines, and 22.5 automated wiring machines, just to meet the 56.25 automated wiring per minute. And then for it to be for a part that I'm practically done using as far as I can tell. Which is the adaptive control units, because you need 4,000 of those. I can never remember the name of the orange thing. That phase 4 orange part. And I'm trying to do this like a semi-blind playthrough. The assembly director system, this thing. And with as much time has gone by since I've started doing that, and then I don't like the idea that I'm getting lazy and thinking to myself, oh, well, I'm not going to need this part or that part, because the way that I like to design every machine is end to end in a standalone system and not drawing off of one part pool. So like if you go and grab a set of parts out of the box, there's a whole set of machinery from the raw input to the main input that has its own supply. That, so like if you go and grab 2 parts out of 2 boxes, because if you're using like a main production pool and then you suddenly decide to add more stuff to that pool, like not only are you going to hit belt limits first, but then if you forget where you took from the pool or added to the pool, then the only way to remember is to go back through. Like this here, I mean, the good example of that is my steel. My steel at one point was perfectly calculated, and then I decided I wanted 6 heavy frames per minute. And then I kind of just started arbitrarily adding parts because I saw that I had more steel that was being used. So I didn't want to go back and count the parts, which is my own fault. I mean, no other person is responsible for that but me. And I just don't like that it's a mess and that I would have to go back and recalculate everything to re-optimize everything. Like this, just arbitrarily just adding this X amount of pipes being made. That was only to increase the amount of pipes that were available for the triple clocked over stator things. That I had the one thing that made stators because it wasn't really a priority to have a lot of them. And now I've just got so many stators. And it's not that I don't know what I'm doing. It's just that the rubber has kind of finally met the road as far as not really caring about fixing it, which is because in order to fix it, I would have to go back through every single thing that uses this. And the way that I like to do that is, once I have my final new numbers, I would go back and delete everything that used that part from end to end and redesign it so that it produced the exact amount that was needed for the new thing. And I really don't like having to do that. But I mean, that is kind of the way that the game operates, is that, you have shifting priorities of stuff over time, like copper. Like you go from not needing copper to suddenly needing just an ungodly amount of copper. And it's like that with pretty much every part as you progress through the game. Which is fine. Except once you get to a certain point where things have become this complicated. Just on its surface, just looking at it, and then the thought that you might miss a machine or miss a calculation somewhere, which is why it's best to make everything from end to end from the start of the game and not do anything arbitrarily. Then there's that, is even if I tore the machines out, like, the new amounts from the inputs and the outputs required will require a certain amount of space. So like you couldn't even replace the same amount of machines in the same place, or you've already gotten the machines that are already doing stuff. I mean, I guess I should take some solace in the fact that since I did do pretty much the entirety of the factory like that, the only thing that I've noticed so far is that I added a handful too many machines to copper after the big rework, like these ones that I just added. And I only need just slightly more copper input into the system to where everything would be green lights all the time, and the only yellow lights that I really have aren't really yellow for that long. But I don't like any yellow lights at all. And like the same thing goes with steel. Steel was backed up. But now that everything is eating stators, and I have more stators and I know what to do with, I'm kind of tempted to try to make that amount of cable needed for the automated wiring. And not because I really need it, but just because I want to run those triple overclocked 3 manufacturers that make the adaptive control units, just so they're not just sitting there. And then there's that, is I'm pretty sure I don't need that orange part. And I knew it was going to be a crap ton, but I had no idea that I was going to need that many machines and that much raw copper. And that's why I've been procrastinating playing TF2 the whole time, is because I don't like it when it's not perfect. But I also don't want to put in the time to go in and make sure that it's fixed. So I'm kind of like reassuring myself that it's not really as messed up as I think that it is. So I could probably just take that off of my to-do list. Take the slugs out of the stator makers, so I don't really need those. Take the slugs out of the computers and the adaptive control units because the screws are only set up to run 3 regular manufacturers. And the only reason that it looks like there's more than what can be consumed by just the regular amount of manufacturers I have is because of the reserve box that I have in front of the manufacturers. I mean, if it was the exact amount being produced and consumed by, you know, the end-to-end thing, these would only ever move when the computer maker moved. But despite it look like it's just sitting there, it is very, very slowly depleting this box. And anybody that knows anything about the game and knowing that this is circuit boards, that's crazy. Just looking at that, it's freaking crazy. That's the funny thing about a potentially semi-sandbox game is like the only person that's really responsible for me having any anxiety about any part of the factory is me. I'm putting the pressure on myself to, like, I just don't like to have a set of machines that isn't running full bore end to end. Like, the truth is, I absolutely don't need 6 heavy frames a minute. It's just I had the steel to do it, or I thought that I had the steel to do it, and then found out that I didn't have the steel to do it. And then it became like a, well, now I gotta do it. So that's why we have this here, and that's this whole section of this whole factory over here, is just to make the 30 regular frames a minute, like. Is this box empty? I'm pretty sure it's still like trying to make up the difference for filling up the other box, and that's why it's running like it is. And just because I can, because I've got the slugs, I think I'm going to put 3 slugs in all 3 of these. Just because I have some reserve built up of all the precursor parts. And just so I can say at one point, I've got a factory now that makes 15 heavy modular frames a minute. I know that nobody will probably ever see this or know that, but like, That is insane. And the nice part is, like, because I built it end to end to run at, 6 heavy frames a minute without slugs in it, and I could just go turn the dial up if I happen to need 15 heavy frames a minute. It'll run until, it runs out of the reserves, but that's pretty much what most of this factory is. Like, everything that makes the precursor parts that goes into it. So, like, the screws that were just sitting there, they all fire back up to life, and now they are eventually going to underrun. Because I've got one line of screws that makes just enough to run one manufacturer, all separated by itself, because that amount of screws will not fit within the bandwidth limit of the conveyor belts. The conveyor belts can only fit so many screws on them. But just for fun, while I was thinking about it, and partially out of, like, spite to myself for just how many, like, because I'm not going to do that now. I'm not going to try to make the 56 adaptive wiring thing. Like, I can, and it would be cool to, like, say that I have done that, but it's just so wildly unnecessary to have that much adaptive wiring. As far as I know right now, I mean, I might need it, but that is part of what makes a game fun, is not knowing what you're going to need until you need it, and then you have to go back and change it. But that's so cool. I could just throw like 9 slugs in my 3 things that make the heavy frame. There's 15 heavy frames a minute until the reserves run out. And every other machine that was like sitting there idle is now just cranking out parts. Like, I wonder how much that increased my power usage. But again, just like the screws or any other part, but specifically the screws that I just looked at for the computer makers, is eventually the reserves, the buffer will run out. And it will only run at, the 1x speed that it was designed for. Yeah, the screw makers kind of haven't stopped. And that's what it is too, is forgetting where you kind of strayed from the rules a little bit. Like, I know that there's more iron here that's being used. And that whole iron node is just to make screws for the heavy frames. But then you forget where you strayed from the rule a little bit, and because math is strict and unforgiving, you'll find out eventually. I'm just cranking out computers, most of which aren't really being used for anything. But I do know that it is unsustainable with the amount of cable, plastic, and screws. But while I've got a reserve built up, I'm just going to let it chew through it. I'm pretty sure the stack that it was working off was I'm pretty sure it was working off of that stack, though, just within the last few minutes that I checked. But that's what it is. I feel like I'm letting myself down by not forcing myself to make the 56.25 adaptive wiring. Just to run this thing like triple overclocked. Well, 250 overclocked anyway. Triple slugged. I'm not sure if the codex does end-to-end stuff. No, it doesn't. But the nice part is now I feel comfortable just saying screw it and just let it run, because I've got like almost 3 full boxes of the orange part up there. Which, as far as I know, you don't need that for anything else, but if I do, I think I will make it so it'll at least run the adaptive control units by itself, end to end. What's the other thing eating the pipes? Stators still? I was just still trying to fill the motor box, is that what it is? I think that's what it is still trying to fill the motor box over here. No. Something else eating the status. Which the only thing I could think of would be the adaptive control units. Or the adaptive wiring. Let me check the power usage now that it's had a chance to go through stuff. Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. I mean, there's been something I've been thinking about for a while. And like, you know, there used to be this kid that used to come in and talk about Cuphead all the time. And I kind of finally got tired of it. And I'm kind of getting there with you. Like, I mean, I can be pretty patient when I want to be, but like, it's just like so remotely far from being funny or relevant or like, I mean, it's like not even a good troll. You know? I mean, it's just kind of disappointing. But it's like, you always seem to show up, like, right when I'm in the middle of a thought process or something, and then it's like, oh, great, this guy is here. So, I think I'm gonna fix that. There we go. I mean, like, if you had added, like, relative or relevant information, like, it's been going on a while, but I'm tired of it. I mean, you could still watch the stream or the videos or whatever, but I'm done with the whole, does the neighbor's dog like bacon thing. But it's just like the kid that used to come in and talk about Cuphead all the time. I mean, I'm assuming that it was a kid. It may have been an adult, but it's like, I told him repeatedly, like, dude, I've never played Cuphead. I don't know the first thing about it. And in the nicest way possible, I'm not particularly interested in talking about Cuphead. Specifically because I don't know the first thing about it, and I will probably never play it. So anyway, he just starts like listing stuff off the wiki page. Just like, if I needed to know stuff about Cuphead, I would go to the wiki page. Yeah, so anyway. Oh, and that's, you know, there's no hard feelings about it. It's just a distraction, you know, like, and I'm pretty sure that it's an intentional distraction because just like the kid with Cuphead, I mean, I have expressed that, you know, it's not relevant information to the things that I'm doing on the stream, so. You know, kind of tried to give it the benefit of the doubt. Let it go for a little while to see if the behavior would change. It didn't. You know, tried to give it the benefit of the doubt that, like, maybe it's by accident, like, maybe they don't know what they're doing. Nah, it's totally on purpose. But yeah, I've decided I'm not gonna do the adaptive wiring. Just after looking at, like, I'm gonna need more than 100 machines and various sources of copper, and then trying to figure out the logistics of getting it from machine to machine. And I kind of don't want to push my drones because I'm already pretty close to the amount of batteries that I'm making. Yeah, no, see, I kind of expected you to do that too, but the nice part is it's going to take you more effort to make a new account than it is for me to just remove you. So, have fun with that. And like, I know from experience, because I have more than one Google account, that it takes a little bit of effort after a certain point. Might have like maybe 3 or 4, maybe up to 5 already pre-made, ready to go. But after that, like, you have to start getting new phone numbers, you have to start getting new emails, you have to start getting new, like... And it kind of shifts the effort back over to you. But I have to click but just one button. So I think what I'm doing is I think I might work on the storage and sorting area. Where the hell am I going to put that? And if I were to guess, she might be that Logan person too. That they were doing other stuff that I'm assuming they got themselves banned for. And I only know that because they came in and told me. You know, I just thought of a thing. Because I don't actually have to move the hub. Because I can have both things. I can have a storage box that's just split off of the main part line for a particular part. Over by the hub. So when I jump out of the tubes and I don't have to move the tubes or the hub or anything else, and it'll automatically fill up that part. Like I can have more than one storage area. It doesn't have to be just one consolidated storage area. And then I could have the part that drones out each part at a completely separate area where I already have all of this space over here. I'm kind of disappointed. I kind of expected them to have like more than just a handful of accounts. Well, anyway. Yeah, because thinking about it, I don't think I ever saw the two of them pretty. Just that. The other thing that I haven't seen in a while that I'm not sure if they removed or not is there used to be like this pinpoint neutron looking star. It's either that or it was just a really far away sun. But it used to make stuff look like I used to have to restart the game and hope that it wasn't still there because it made stuff so hard to see. I mean, it was a cool effect in that it's probably what would happen if you were, you know, that's probably the way that it would look if there was a star that was that small. But yeah. Yeah, over here is looking like a good drone spot. So I'm gonna need one for basic. I'm gonna need more batteries. Crap. So that means I'm gonna have to go over to bauxite. And then I'm not sure if I should try to upgrade the existing battery factory. So I know that both of them aren't equal. And then, I don't think I've got programmable splitters unlocked yet. I guess the solution to that, with the endpoint being having one drone for every part, that I could be anywhere on the map and build a drone port and just ship myself parts and just wait for the drone to get there and have X amount of sheets or X amount of concrete or X amount of junk. Or I can make like a toolbox thing that slowly mixes like one of every kind of part. You know, one that just makes flooring, one that just makes this, one that just has but I mean, still right there, because it's difficult to do a proper load balancing. It's probably just easier to have one drone dedicated to each part. So that's going to be a nightmare, because I've tried to do it before on my other map, on my other world. I used to drone in packaged sulfuric acid over to where the water source was, and then unpackage it. And I used to use one drone to ship the control rods, the packaged sulfuric acid, the batteries, and other crap too. Oh, the concrete necessary, the encased beams that were necessary, like, should be pretty close to full for that orange part. How many is in each one? 1, 2, 3, 4, so 8. Is it 8 by 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can't tell if that's right or not. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times 8 times 50. So yeah, I've been done with that. Like, I have a whole extra box now. And since it's gonna keep running anyway, just to keep the power consumption up, and because I don't have those parts being used for anything else, I'm just gonna add more boxes. That's weird too, is like part of me feels bad, but every single time they've come in, it's been some kind of distraction. Like, I mean, I wouldn't mind if it was like relevant questions about whatever game I'm playing, but I mean, it's like, it kind of makes me think of the 2 mice that I just mouse trapped. I'm not being figurative, I'm being literal. Like, I had 2 field mice, a male and a female, that lived in the walls. And I tolerated them. I even left bread out for them, which I know that's not particularly a smart thing to do. But I felt bad, like, you know, I felt bad trapping them. But it got to the point where, like, they would wait for me to go to sleep, and I'd be sleeping in, like, complete darkness and total silence, and then you'd hear, like, digging or biting, and they didn't used to do that. They didn't used to, like, make noise when I was sleeping. But it was loud. That went on for like a few weeks, and like finally, like, it started to have a marked effect where I was losing sleep because of waking up to the mouse. And I got like just some simple mouse traps, put some peanut butter on them, and got both of them in one day, and it's been quiet ever since. But I used to feed them, you know? Then again, I'm not being figurative, and I'm not trying to be slick or anything. Like, I'm being literal. I just had to trap 2 mice. Like, and I kind of feel bad about it. So they weren't really hurting anything. I mean, I don't really keep food in here, so I don't have to worry about them getting diseases into my food supply or anything. And it's like, But yeah. I know I'm gonna have to make more batteries, and I don't want to. Hmm. Hmm. But then there's that too, is like I don't really do streaming to like try to emulate being the idea of a streamer. You know, like not in any extreme in any direction, but like just your general idea of like what a streamer should be. I'm mostly using this to record footage to YouTube. I mean, the best experience I probably had so far would probably be Terraria. I mean, people would come in and ask to, Terraria relevant questions. And I actually kind of felt like I was helping people to learn stuff. But I mean, I guess I kind of underestimated the amount of people that played this game. I mean, it is still only early access. And it is kind of like its own isolated niche game. Like, not a lot of people like math. And if you try to play this game without math or without planning, it can, it's doable, but you're gonna end up with a lot more problems than having fun out of it. But that's not a derogatory statement about the game. I mean, that's just how it works. The people that are gonna love it are probably gonna love it. The people that aren't probably gonna like it are probably not gonna like it very much. Yeah, I'm kind of hitting that point where I just don't want to do it. Knowing that I'm gonna have to go make a battery factory. But then the alternative isn't really acceptable either, is knowing that I'm going to have to probably end up with batteries at some point anyway. So I've already got like 20 something drones going. And the alternative is riding the hypertube back and forth to whatever site that you're at. And how satisfying it would be to be in any part of the map. Like if I wanted to go, like I'm here, if I wanted to go like I'm not even sure it's gonna load the whole map. So I guess I'm in the northeast corner or the northwest corner, so it's just letting me move the map this way. Like I could be over here someplace and need a part. And since my main processing station is here, that means that I'm going to have to travel all of that way to grab a handful of parts. Or make a new factory out there that makes metal sheets. Or sit there and play Tink 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 Simulator on the crafting bench. With the only real solution being having one drone for one part. And then I could be at any place in the world and just ship a drone to that station where I'm working. And it'd probably only really require only 1 or 2 trips from the drone. And I wouldn't need an individual sorting thing. I would just need the one catch-all box from the smart splitter of the Any Undefined. And all my parts would go in that part box. And I could be anywhere on the map and have that happen. And I'm trying to mull through what would be the best solution with the least amount of effort with the highest gain. That's the most versatile solution. And the thing I keep coming back to is trying to fight with doing a load balancing thing that sends me like one drone that has most of the basic parts in it. And the problem with that is it's not going to be consistent. Is one thing is going to end up being more than the other thing, and I'm going to end up with like 2 or 3 stacks of this thing, and then the drone's going to be full. And then each drone is only going to take half of the whole payload. And because it's going to take time for the 2 drones to get back and forth, it's only going to take half of the payload and never clear out the whole payload in the drone station. And since you can't specify how much parts of what thing per minute with, you know, the programmable splitter, as far as I know, it's kind of not a viable option. Which, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to think of what the solution would be. Like, and I know having one drone for one part would be great, because then I could be anywhere and just request a drone deliver me a whole payload of, you know, just motors. I just need motors. The motor drone comes in and docks at whatever station. And that would solve the problem of having to go back and forth with the tubes. But that means I have to make more batteries. Because if I try to do it without more batteries, with as many parts as there are, with as many drone stations as I'm gonna need, but that might be the potential solution. Is if I just take and siphon off some reserve of the batteries that I currently have and store them in a battery box that just powers the toolboxes, then I don't have to add more batteries, because those drones that run the toolboxes don't continually eat the batteries. They only maybe run once or twice, and then I shut off the drone system and it goes and parks itself back on the thing. So I don't actually have to add more batteries. Which, in order for me to come to that conclusion, I had to drive around and talk to myself for a while. So how would I handle that? I mean, I guess the easiest solution is just have one box that's just being constantly filled as a reserve. Like this one. Except I want that to be the only storage box. So if I split this storage box into two and have it be its own reserve, because I don't even need a full box to power the other drones for the other parts. I mean, even just that one battery box that's over there, that should be more than enough. Without having to immediately add more batteries. No, I think that's what I'm gonna do though, so I don't forget. Use stored batteries to run the parts system. So that means I'm gonna need a crap load of drone parts, which reminds me I kinda need to check to see if I've got a thing that's making everything that I can make. Now see, that's a part that I could be making that I'm not making. I think I'm just gonna put that. I'll do that later. This one is one that I am not making. Oh man, and it needs freaking batteries. I mean, I knew that I was gonna have to make batteries anyway, but my solution of just running the parts system off of batteries, because I need the parts system to expand this any further. I've used all of the nodes in this area, and I'm to the point now where I have to go farther, and the only way for me to get back and forth to get the parts to make the factories to make more parts is to use a freaking hypertube, or spend the time to run a train, or spend the time to run a conveyor belt, with the alternative being drones. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Have I finally chewed through the reserve of plastic that I have in this thing? Oh my god, I have. Every one of these boxes in this plastic bus was all entirely full. And the part that's crazy is I still haven't ran out of plastic yet. So I was on my way to go take the slugs out of the computer makers, but apparently the amount of plastic that I've been making is enough to run the 3 triple overclocked or triple slugged computer makers. I haven't checked on this since it's been running for a little while. Seems to have finally evened itself out though. These 2 drone stations drone in 600 plastic per minute. And in combination with this drone thing that drones in that the amount that runs these circuit board makers. And it doesn't look like it's running out at all, so that means it's working perfectly. So the drone that's coming in with the copper sheets should be on its way. Yep. Cool. Its own separate factory within main processing that's supplied exclusively by drones that supply their own batteries to the remote drone stations. Which supplies enough circuit boards to run the triple overclock computer makers. And the thing that appears to be hurting right now, yeah, it's just chewing through screws. And since I triple overclocked these, what is this at? Doesn't appear to be hurting anything. I mean, this makes 15 heavy frames a minute. Only just since I put the 3 slugs in it. When you take the 3 slugs out, from end to end, it runs at 6 heavy frames a minute. Consistently, like, I mean, this is just the screws just for that. Oh, that's the screws for computers, so this is the screws just for the heavy frame maker. It's not designed end to end to run with the 3 slugs in it, or the 9 slugs in the 3 machines, but I had somewhat of a reserve built up and I wanted to chew through that. So I just put a box over by the hub that stores the heavy frames. But this whole section makes 30 regular frames a minute. There's cable, and copper sheets. No, but I found my solution though. which is if I just build up a reserve of batteries, since those drones aren't going to be going the entire time. If I make one drone port as an output for every single part, whether it be screws or sheets or rods or concrete or heavy frames, or then I could be anywhere on the map and just request a specific drone part, and then have it be sorted out into the anything undefined box on the drone sorter. Be nice if the jetpack had like turbo mode. And that's just coal generators. That's just powered by truck inputs. And at one point, those are all designed to run with 3 slugs in each coal generator. And at one point, before I got fuel generators, but now we've got nuclear power going, so like, which right now it seems like a lot, but I'm pretty sure that the particle accelerator worked with them yet before. So that's why I say I assume that's what's gonna happen. Now, like the actually doing stuff part, now that I know what I have to do, kind of want to go play TF2. This is my to-do list set here. Need more batteries, maybe. That's a definitely. I need to do the storage sorting area, which I kind of did part of that. If I use the stored batteries to run the drone parts system, I don't have to worry about mixing drone batteries into the drone part system because the batteries for the destination port are going to be delivered to the system. Plus, I already have one that does just battery. I have a few that do just battery delivery. I could always divert one of those. But in order for me to expand any further in the map, while also see it still being connected to all of the parts that I have being made already without having to take the hypertube, is just make a drone station for every part. The benefits of the path of least resistance system. It just fills up the box or all the way until it's full, and then you take one stack out, and the whole line is designed to run at maximum capacity to refill that box until it stops. And this is designed so that the one drone that goes between the two ports just sits there until it's able to unload all the aluminum casings that get turned into batteries. And the nice part is it does just sit there until it's able to make a trip. That's crazy. I've already been going at this for an hour and a half, and it was just planning. It was just the planning phase of what I was gonna do. And this spot right here is probably where I'm gonna have like the drone army. This whole grid is probably just going to be drones. The problem that I'm looking at now though is, do I want to build on top of those? Like, do I want to go up above this section? I mean, that does kind of violate my rule of everything being on one level. Then it's like, how many parts do I really need to ship, though? Need one for this, one for this, one for that, one for that, one for that, one for that, one for this, one for this, one for that, one for this, one for, well, not one for that. I mean, that's already, what, 10 drone stations? One for this, one for this, one for this, one for those, one for those, and no, I haven't actually been counting now. One for plastic, one for rubber, one for computers, one for quick wire. Oh man, I'm gonna need so freaking many drones. But yeah, this has been a talk to myself while I plan out what I'm gonna do stream. I still haven't mustered the gumption to force myself to go build it. I know I'm gonna end up forgetting that I put the 9 slugs in the heavy frame makers. And I'm gonna come back and be like, why is everything empty? But yeah, I think I'm gonna go play TF2. And then I wouldn't mark this down as a wasted stream because, I mean, you do have to plan out what you're gonna do. And now it's just sitting here and forcing myself to do it. Which is it's not gonna be this stream. The amount of time that it's gonna take me to do that and get everything tuned and running. I mean, like, see, now I just thought of, like, how am I gonna handle, like, the actual doing of it? Like, what would be the best way to put in the drones? Because they've got, what, the 3 ports on each one. The batteries that power those drones is just gonna come off of 1 storage box. Because they're not going to be all going constantly. Like, I might use one time, and in that time, you know, it's going to replenish the stored batteries without having to increase the overall parts per minute for each battery consumed. And I absolutely have to do that, because if I don't, there's just no viable alternative. There's no practical alternative to being anywhere else on the map and getting parts out there. Besides like a 4 or 5 minute trip through hypertubes, and then you get all the way out there and you've forgotten something. And I guess it isn't really that complicated. If I just do one main catch-all thing. See, that's the other part, is how am I going to deal with the excess parts that I send back, if I send any back at all? Like, I don't want to just dispose of the parts in an awesome sink. Because those are kind of a waste. Like, I would like to reconsolidate them into a sorting area. Which is a project that I do kind of want to do, that I should probably do before I do the drone delivery system. Because if I have like one magic box that I just throw any part in, and it just goes through a series of sorters. You know, just like in Minecraft, the magic box, you throw your inventory in the magic box and it all just magically goes back into the system. I should probably have that done before. Because in the event that I do miss the drone showing up, like if I'm busy building a part waiting for the drone to get there, well, I mean, everything's just going to go into the catch-all anyway. It's going to go into any undefined box. So then I'm going to end up with just like excess parts at every location I request a drone to. Drone that I can send any part to, that its catch-all goes to the magic sorting box. So I don't really need to do that before I do that. Is the steel finally running full bore with no backup? Or with no, it is. These two steel foundries, in addition to the steel foundry that's over there, that gets delivered by truck via this box. And I don't see hardly any yellow lights at all. Nice. That's so crazy. A small period of time where you can just crank out 15 heavy frames a minute. That's freaking crazy. Not that you would ever need that amount of stuff, but yeah. No, I think the drone delivery parts thing is going to come first, and I'm just going to throw all the excess into the awesome sink when I'm done with it. Or just leave it out there at the drone site. But I mean, the reason that I'm not doing it on this stream is because I know how much work it's going to be. I'm going to need one drone port for every single part that I'm shipping. And then I'm going to have to run lines over to the drone port that puts the parts in the box. I mean, the battery splitter is pretty simple. You just have one storage tower that stores a crap load of batteries that just siphons off the excess from the main input line and just keeps that storage station full, because I'm not going to be shipping batteries out to the drone station. But I mean, that's going to be like 15 drone stations and then 15 lines over to the thing. I'm going to have to do like another lasagna layer of conveyor belts. And I should probably put a box out there in front of the input source for each drone part. But yeah, I am clicking the button right now. I'm probably going to end up doing that in the next stream, but thankfully I don't have to build like 100 machines to try to keep pace with the 3 triple overclocked adaptive wiring things, because apparently I've already got a whole box of the orange part for phase 4 over the amount that I need anyway. So, but yeah, thank you for watching and thank you for subscribing. I'm probably going to come back and play TF2, but I'm clicking the button right